Hi, this is Mark. Congratulations. You have found this amazingly awesome show. Chances are you're listening to it right now on whether it's iTunes or Stitcher Radio or some other mobile app that allows you to stream this amazingly awesome show to your ear holes. And I can't stress how awesomely amazing this show really is. But did you know that you can also catch the latest episode of this show on the Tangibound Network? That's right. Go check out tangiboundnetwork.com. You can look them up and you can listen to it right there. It's even mobile friendly. What more could you ask for? Which means you can pull it up on your iPhone or your Android, even your Windows phone. Yeah, who has one of those? But still, point remains, you can do it. You can do it. Check it out, tangiboundnetwork.com. Listen to this show, the latest episode, every time. Check it out.
Welcome to the Wicked Radio Network.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Crazy Life. No Jen this week, so it's just me, Brian, and joining me as usual, Henno.
Hello.
I didn't think you were going to come in there. Oh, man. Rough start this week. Oh, man.
Didn't even get past hello.
Oh, I couldn't even get to hello. Well, no. Oh, boy. So, like I said, no Jen this week. She's off doing wedding planning and such. So hopefully she'll be back next week to regale us with, stories of napkins and I don't know, whatever. I don't know what she's doing. I'm just
Coasters.
Yeah. I don't know.
Love it.
Yeah. It would be funny if it was about napkins. Like,
does this match the bridesmaid's dress?
Oh, that whole...
Well, let's just hope the bridesmaids' dresses don't look like napkins.
That'd be kind of weird, right? I mean, super absorbent maybe, but really embarrassing.
That might be actually kind of smart.
Yeah.
If there's enough booze going on, you might want to, a quicker picker-upper as part of your dress.
We're dancing a dangerous line here, Henno.
Yes, we are.
Oh, man. So, how was your week, Henno?
Let's see. What have I been doing? Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm still on the get things done bandwagon.
What?
Believe it or not. I know. So first of all, I woke up the next day after the last time we podcasted, and I just felt like garbage. One of my coworkers had like some crud earlier in the week, and I think I eventually got it. And we have fires nearby, so there's smoke in the air. So I woke up with like a sore throat and all congested and headachy and blah blah blah. So I'm like, I'm calling in sick. So I had a nice, it was one of those ones where you're like, I don't really feel that bad. You get up to go do something, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm sitting back down again.
Right.
You're like thinking like, I'm faking it. Nope, I'm not. But one of my big goals, I had actually two goals. one of which I have discussed on here, and that's, my debt stuff. And one of the things that I like to do every, about 3 or 4 months is actually go through it all and write it all down on a piece of paper and actually take a look at it.
Yeah.
Which is, that's, for me, that's part of recovery in many ways, whether it's emotional or mental or various things, is, vagueness. When we're vague about things in our life, it's easy to make excuses and not do work.
True.
And that goes with stuff we talk about all the time. And so in doing so, it's, it was funny. Sharon was all just prepared for, me to end up being depressed or something. And I'm like, it's like it's a fact-finding mission. That's all it is. It's an inventory. I'm looking at it, and sometimes it makes me go,
right. Sure.
On the other hand, it's like I can't do any steps to fix it without knowing what needs to be fixed.
Yeah, that's true.
It's why we go see therapists, why we go talk to counselors, and money is one of those things. I had no idea how vague people were about money.
Oh, it's terrible.
Until I started going to self-help groups about it.
Yeah.
And I was amazed.
Yeah.
I was amazed.
If you ever want to see somebody who's really awful about their situation with money, I mean, just aside from this, go talk to somebody who owns their own business.
Oh, we have several business owners in there. Yeah. And it's a little surprising, and
they'll lie because they don't want to admit that and I don't want to call someone a failure, but they don't want to admit that their business may not be doing as well as it could be, or, that they don't want to feel like they're a failure. Let me frame it that way, I guess.
Yeah. I know people and that are, that have come in and out of some of the groups I meet with, and we all know their business model isn't working.
Yeah.
And we know that they really don't want to look at it.
Sure. No. Yeah.
You can't make anybody. They're going to do what they're going to do. So,
yep.
But anyhow, that was one of the things I needed to do. And, getting that done, it's like, okay, let's, I got to put some strategies in action, which is, it's anything that I can do that keeps me in that direction and not in the backsliding direction is positive. And one of the other ones was finishing my will.
Oh yeah.
And I started this 2 years ago, and I have not finished it. And mainly because I need to, Sharon made one request, is basically, house, all that stuff, easy. It's like, it goes to her, and my sister's the next in the line, and then my nephews. But like she said, she, pointed to all the stuff in the studio, all the guitars, all the amps, she's like, what do I do with this?
Yeah. Because
if something happens to you, it's literally going out in the driveway with a free, best offer, and she's like, because I don't know what anything is. I don't know what, I wouldn't know what to do with it. And she's like, could you please, And so I had to go through, and it's like, certain things you have to be specific and actually put serial numbers on it. But for the most part, you just need to describe it, title it. And I went through and I made a list of people, and I found an online, I'm doing it with Nolo, and they have an online service, and questionnaire takes you all the way through it and prints it at the end. So all I have left to do is all the people that I bequeath things to. By the way, you're getting some recording gear of yourself.
Awesome. By the way, take another drink of that bubbling tea there. No.
Dude, there, yeah, exactly. I figured you might like my 27-inch iMac.
Yeah.
So I got that on there, and let's see what else. Oh yeah, my
I hope you live many more years. I know.
Years, yeah. I was like, Brian needs a new computer. Let's throw this down on there.
Oh man, what a horrible way to get a new computer.
I know.
Yeah. Like, I lost a friend, but I gained a better one. No. I should probably
include an Apogee duet too.
Yeah.
Check out how cool our podcast sounds now.
What a great guy.
What a great guy.
Looking out for us even in the afterlife.
Oh man, it's so funny. So speaking, and that's where I'm now at the point where I need to put contact information.
Oh, right.
I just need to. I need to add the phone numbers and addresses and things like that. So I'm doing all that. So yeah, so that was a thing, and then to wrap it up, it was amazing how much my head wanted me not to go to the gym yesterday, and yet somehow I still managed to do it. That was my win for the week. like seriously, like
no. Sorry, when you said that, I was just bump and grind was going through my head. The part is just like my mind's telling me no.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Because Saturday night, one of the dogs got skunked, so I didn't get much sleep. It was like at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And then Monday morning, I woke up with some stomach thing. So I'd literally fallen asleep at 7:30 on like the couch on Monday night. I was just done.
Yeah.
And so the next day, I had everything with me, and it was wild how my brain was looking for all these excuses. I could feel it.
Yeah, right.
I was like, it was like there was this entity willing me to get into the truck and leave. And I could actually observe it.
Right,
that was the weird part about it, is I was observing it. Yet there was another part of me that was, without really any much effort, was just saying, no, we're going to go do this.
Yeah.
And so that was my win for the week, as I quieted that sabotage voice that makes it so easy for me to just put things off all the time.
Yeah, and that voice is those voices, however you want to, and again, when we're saying that, we're not referencing like hearing voices as far as actually hearing voices, but it's that's the kind of stuff that, like, when I started therapy, that was the hard part, was that all I could hear was the one. I couldn't hear the, hey, this is going to be okay. It's all I heard was the doubt. All I heard was the reasons to not do something. There was never that voice of reason. And through, the work that you put in, you get to a point where even if you hear the doubt or the reasons not to, if you hear both, or you can at least process both, at least then you can make a choice. When all you hear is one, you basically, it's like, well, there's only one choice to make here. It's like, there's no other, because all these great reasons, well, you're right. Stupid, I am stupid. I should go lay on the couch. I should go do this. This is a great idea. I should, It's like, well, why don't you go to the gym? That'd make you feel better. You always feel better after you go to the gym. It's like, hey, you know what? That is true. And it's like, no, don't listen to that guy. It's,
Yeah. And what's wild, everybody, I know everyone can relate to this by the example of the long day at work.
Yeah.
Where there is no question about what you're going to do. When you're done, you're going to get in your vehicle or get on the bus, whatever it is. You're going to go home. You're going to, maybe pour yourself a drink, have a bite to eat all the ice cream, and sit and watch bad TV. And there's no questioning any of it.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm not in a good place, mentally, when I'm not taking care of myself. That's the way it is every day.
Yeah.
It's just easy. There's no protest at all.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I can make every day be the hardest day ever, where I need to just, veg or whatever it is. And so when that other voice is finding its voice and speaking up, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Because, I've shared on, here so many times how I try not to fight this stuff too much. Hey, if that's where I'm at, that's where I'm at. And I know I have faith, and I have faith in the fact that if given enough time and, and doing the things that I need to do, that other voice is going to come back around and lead me back to where I was.
Yeah.
There's no part of my being, or whatever you want to call it, a phase or whatever, that's going to be permanent.
Yeah.
And,
right.
and I think that's the first step for not falling into it being permanent.
That
is knowing that it's not.
Right. And that's, I the last time I was in therapy, I talked to my therapist about that too, that I was like, in the last year one of the biggest wins for me is that I realized I used to fight every day when I felt like, I'd wake up and be like, I can't get out of bed today, and I would fight it. Like, no, you have to get out of bed. You have to do it. You can't lay here. And then after like going to therapy, I realized that no, really, by doing that, what I'm doing, even that voice is a negative voice. Like, I'm beating myself up for having depression. Like, I am beating like you look how awful you are. You can't even get up and face the world. Like even at that point. So now there's days where I wake up and like I said, and I've talked about it on this before, I'll wake up and just be like, no, like this just isn't going to happen. And I'll lay back down. And I've allowed myself those days now. And when I do, I feel so much better because I'm not adding another stone to my shoulders. I'm not burdening myself with that guilt like I used to. And that is one of the biggest wins that I have gotten in the last year. And I cannot yell it from rooftops loud enough for anyone listening. If you do the same thing, unleash that chain as soon as you can, because it'll be one of the biggest weights you can let off of yourself. And it is one of the easiest ones to let off of yourself that you probably can do. Most of the others take a lot of work. This is one you can just go, I'm just going to lay here. It's exactly what you want to do. It's so weird because depression wants you to lay there. So just lay there. Now, the key is to lay there for a day. Then go, is this really just a bad day, or is this when you do this, you have to then, when this is where the work comes in, because then you kind of go, is this a day, or am I now starting essentially a spiral, or however you want to word it? I always call mine spirals because that's generally what they are. And that's where the work is coming for me, is trying to then recognize, or a cycle, however you want to word it. Am I starting something that's a bigger picture thing, or am I just having an off day? Because depression works that way. There's just days where I'm just not going to be productive to the world. It's, just not going to happen. And those days are fine. Let it happen. Be that way. Move through your day, and hopefully tomorrow will just be a better day.
Yeah. That's kind of why I didn't go to work on Thursday. I just woke up and I was like, if I go in, I'm going to be useless. So, and then I'm going to beat myself up.
Yep. And
then I'm going to find excuses to, take me time all weekend long. And I said that same thing. It's just like, no, not today. I'm staying in bed.
Yep. See, and that's
and what happened? About halfway, I still didn't feel great the next day.
Yeah.
But eventually, I started feeling better, and I got up and started doing something. And I think it's such a great point, because I don't think I really realized that I saw everything as permanent always, and everything is so. Well, like we've talked about, you go to the doom and gloom scenarios so easily.
Yeah.
When you're not feeling right. So it's I love the fact that now that I know that eventually the voice will come back, and then it does, and then I go, yes, and so today I had a list of things that I'd just been so tired the last couple nights. And today I was like, all right, I got to check my air filter on my truck. And, I have a K&N, so it needs to be cleaned and re-oiled. And I was doing that, and I'm like, oh, wait, I got a fuel filter. So this is hilarious. I start to replace the fuel filter on the diesel, and I get the old one off, and I'm going to put the new one on. And I literally had a little freaking hissy fit in the driveway. I had a full-on cursing, like the neighborhood could hear me cursing temper tantrum, because I could not get this thing on.
Right.
It was like impossible. Like I would have needed an 800-pound gorilla underneath the truck supporting me to get this thing on. It was not going to work. Even Sharon came out like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I just. And so I went in the house and I looked it up online to see if anyone else had this problem. Nobody else had. So I went back out there, and for some reason it went right into place.
And that's about the way that things tend to go. is general. How many times have you done that in life with so many different things? You walk away for 5 minutes, you walk right back in, and you open that jar the first time, or whatever it ends up being.
Different.
Yep, exactly.
I swear I didn't do anything different.
Yep.
I just walked back out there and went dunk, and it went. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Why didn't I do that the first time?
I spent 15 minutes looking for a hairdryer the other night because I needed to remove some stickers from. I got some of those Funko Pops the other night, and I wanted to remove some of the stickers from the store off of them. And you heat up the labels with a hairdryer, and then they peel right off, right? I looked for about 15 minutes for a hairdryer and could not find it. So I asked my mom. I was like, "Hey, do you have another hairdryer?" Because I knew she did. She gives me one. I get them off there. The next day, I go to take a shower, get under the sink to grab a towel. When I do, there's the hairdryer. It is right there, and it's not buried. It's not like I pulled the towel out and oh, there it is. No, it's right there.
Right there.
And I moved towels. I did all, and I'm just like, and I was frustrated the night before because I know it's down there. And it's just like, I bet if I would have, because I got frustrated and I ended up just, putting stuff away and shutting the door and walked away from it. And I was mad, which is the dumbest thing. Why am I mad? I couldn't find a stupid hairdryer. Who cares? Yeah. I couldn't get stickers off of a toy package. Wah. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. Just the dumbest stuff. The next day I open the thing and there it is. And I walk out and I go, yeah, I found the hairdryer. She goes, oh, where was it? I'm like, just to the right under the sink. And we both just cracked up because.
Exactly where it's supposed to be.
Yep. Just completely absurd. And I bet if I had walked right back in there 5 minutes later, I would have seen it right away. I was too caught up in my, stupid blind rage at the moment. And what didn't I do in that situation? What I did was lost my cool, lost my logic. And what I didn't do was keep a cool head and breathe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I am SMRT.
So how's your week been?
Oh man, not too bad. Well, on one hand, not too bad. On the other hand, really bad. Not too bad as far as like nothing's really happened. That's as far as to make things worse. But I've noticed like today I got up and actually realized that I think, much as I tend to do, that I've probably been in about day 4 of a cycle. And, as I've pointed out countless times on here, I tend to notice once I'm well into it,
Yep.
And I haven't really, again, can't really figure out necessarily a trigger, but there doesn't have to be a trigger. That's something I think I need to get my head to stop doing. I'm always trying to, and a lot of times I'm like, well, what caused it? Depression caused it. That's what caused it, and it's, don't get me wrong. Sometimes there is an event that will kind of throw you down a hill. But how long does it take you to figure out if an event threw you down a hill? Do I need to go back and, overanalyze every little thing that happened this week? Let me check my distorted thinking worksheet. No, I don't. Because overanalysis will, lead to anxiety and depression. And so, but yeah, it's one of those, I was very much so looking forward to doing this tonight because I needed the outlet, and I found myself like looking back today going, man, I've really been disconnecting this week. I've been really pulling away from people and, and I was like, man, I hate that I do this. And I've been trying really hard not to, like I mentioned last week, talking to people online. So I try to keep contacts with people. And, I've even found myself to some extent in some of those groups that I'm part of. I realized that I've pulled away from a couple of those. And then I'm doing that to some people in real life. And I was like, man, there it is. And like I said, I'm probably 4 or so days into it before I noticed it, Yeah. So, and it's really tough when you find that out. It's almost like if you did the way that my head works is picture if you were doing something, and stay with me. Picture if you were doing something wrong for 4 days and you caught it on day 4, right? Most people would be like, oh, what a dummy, right? Now I have to stop myself from going back and beating myself up retroactively for 4 days.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Now, this is hard for me to stop. And again, this is where therapy is so important. You know, the tools that I've picked up, because at least I recognize this. And recognition is very important because it allows me to go pump the brakes. You're going to, you know, it's like danger, you know, you're going down the wrong path, you know. And so at least I've caught myself there. Like, one thing that's great is that I can look back real quick and go, hey, you're in the middle of a spiral here. So if you feel this way, it makes sense. But don't worry about looking over your shoulder here. Just ride it out. You know, that's kind of where I'm at the moment is, you know, trying to stay here and not go there, you know. And so that's been, you know, a little weird today. But, you know, whatever. It's, you know, it's par for the course. It's, you know, it happens a lot. So, you know, what can you do? And again, just keep, you know, looking at my worksheets, making sure that I'm staying on task, basically. You know, making sure that I'm not slipping from, you know, into distorted thinking, essentially. It's why, you know, having those worksheets has been very important to me because you know, every once in a while I'll just look them over again, just stay sharp.
Yeah.
You know, the last couple of days I've been watching, I think I mentioned the show on, I don't remember if I ever mentioned it on here, but I know I mentioned it on Salty Language. There's a TV show called You're the Worst. And originally I started watching it because, you know, I always dig TV shows with relationships that aren't typical. Like, I love the shows where people are kind of awful to each other, but in a fun way or loving way, you know, because, I don't know, it's I don't know how to word it really. Anyway, this show starts off with these two people who do not want to be in a relationship at all. They're very free-spirited people, and they're horrible to their friends and all this kind of stuff. But of course, you know, they gravitate toward one another because they're similar. And anyway, so whatever. But I'm watching season 2 last night. And as season 2 goes along, the woman, you can just see her, like, drifting away from the guy. And then she starts leaving in the middle of the night, and he can't figure out why. So he follows her at one point and finds that she's like off crying in her car. And again, within the dysfunction of this show, he doesn't really get to the root of the problem. You'd have to watch the show. I don't really want to explain the whole context of their situation. But anyway, and it turns out that she finally tells him that she's clinically depressed. And then they start showing in the show how she becomes more and more and more cold, isolated, detached. Not just to him, but to her friends, to everything. How she basically becomes like a piece of ice that just starts drifting away from the mainland. And I'm sitting there going, man, this is so, again, there's parts of it that are done, you know, for entertainment purposes, but at the same time, they're showing the other side of it to where he plans this whole day to cheer her up, basically. And it, you know, and at the end, she's happy, and he goes, I knew it would work. And she goes, you can't, and she goes, I knew it. And she's like, you can't fix me, you know? And it's like, yes, like both sides of this, they're showing both sides.
Yeah.
He's being super sweet and trying really hard to help her, but he's not quite getting that it doesn't work the way it does for most people, where if you're just having an off day, it would be super nice if someone took you and did a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if someone just grabbed you on an off day and said, hey, let's go do all your favorite things, it would be awesome. You know, but it's not going to cure your depression or make you better, you know. And then it also shows her laying in his house, and basically then it shows a parade of all of her friends doing what they think will make her better. Like, you know, like it shows the person identifying with her going, oh, that's just like the time this, and it's nothing like that. And it's going, and I'm like, oh man, this is so dead on. And again, it shows the frustration of both sides of it. And at one point, she even tells him to go off and be happy basically with another woman because he deserves better. Because she, you know, and I'm watching this and I was like, oh my God, this is just really, you know. And then it turns out like, and then he goes to leave and he turns around and ends up having second thoughts because, you know, the show's got to have a sweet moment. And he ends up building a fort around her, and you see her wake up and he's laying next to her. And she's like, you stayed. And he's like, yeah. And of course, there's this sweet, tender moment, you know. And of course, you know, you're rooting for that as you watch the show because. And then the next day they're having breakfast and she goes, you know, maybe I'm going to go talk to someone or, you know, or it says something about pills, and he goes, wait, you're not on anything? And so she reveals to him she's not in therapy and hasn't been on anything for no antidepressants. And then I was like, oh, Jesus, you know, because the whole thing kind of snaps a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
But her reasoning is, no, I didn't want to lose my edge. And I was like, oh, because right then I'm right back in because that's the reason I didn't want to go on antidepressants at first. That's why so many people don't want to. They don't want to lose their wittiness or their edge or their creativity or, you know. So, you know, I don't know if people really dig the show like I do because it's very dark. It's weird. You know, these people are awful people to most of their family and friends, you know, but it's one of those things that I think it's one of the few shows that really captured both sides of the mental, you know, of a depression situation, you know, the people not understanding what to do, trying really hard and having the best interest or coming from a good place, but just not quite understanding. And then the other side of it of being cold and mean almost. Well, not almost. She is mean at times. Yeah. You know, so anyway, that's season 2 of You're the Worst. If anyone's interested, it's on Hulu right now.
Oh, that sounds cool.
It. So, yeah. Like I said, I dig the show anyway, but, you know, I was only going to watch a couple episodes last night, and then I got into that story arc and ended up finishing the whole dang season because it stretches through most of the season. So, yeah. So that's about my week. Can't think of much else. Yeah. So, there we go.
Yes.
I was trying to think. I thought I had something else I was going to bring up, but I don't. So, yeah. Do you have anything else before we jump into the big topic, I guess?
No, let's do it. I want to hear about this.
So here's something. This is kind of funny. So our topic this week is, and this kind of plays off of where we talked last week about, in the talk we had last week about narcissism and social media, we made a comment about forming relationships mainly with people online and how that can be, you know, not good for you, that you should kind of, you know, try to split your time. And it's funny because this week the topic is fear of missing out, or if you've ever heard the term FOMO, FOMO, it's the same idea. And it's that the real quick way is it's basically the idea that people keep checking their phones because they're afraid that someone will post something on Facebook or something like that and that you'll miss a post. And it's really funny because I was talking in a Twitter group right before we recorded, and we were having a really fun conversation, and somebody asked me something. I was like, well, guys, I got to go because I have to go do a podcast about fear of missing out just when this conversation's getting good. I was like, oh, the sweet irony, you know, basically. So, but
so true.
Yeah, it was, you know, because I was having a good time talking with them, but it's, you know, it is easy for people to fall into this. But anyway, I have an article here from Science Daily, which I know Henno has used before on the show. Yeah. And so have I, actually, because, you know, it's a good site. And basically, it's what is it? It's called FOMO. It's your life you're missing out on. and this was it from, shoot, where is it? It says, you missed out. Is there another sentence that could strike such anxiety in the hearts of young people? Other than we need to talk, of course. It's true, though, and we need to talk about the fear of missing out. Known as FOMO in millennial speak, fear of missing out is quickly taking a toll on Generation Y, and is probably causing damage to your own life. Do you have trouble sitting through a movie without obsessively checking your phone? Does your family complain about your constant social media habit? If you panic at the thought of not having a window to the world, you may be experiencing FOMO, which was added to the Oxford English Dictionary in 2013. Living our lives through this virtual filter isn't really living at all. It only fuels an anxious mindset that we must be missing out. Oh boy, my scroll just went crazy. With at least 24% of teenagers online almost constantly, it's no surprise that fear of missing out is an epidemic among millennials. FOMO is essentially rampant in the millennial community because they see a peer achieving something they want, and somehow in their mind that achievement means something is being taken away from them. Said Darlene McLaughlin, MD, assistant professor at Texas A&M Health Science Center College of Medicine, and a psychiatry and behavioral health specialist with Texas A&M Physicians. Boy, I'd hate to see her business card. Whew. It's easy to define our lives based on the virtual crowd watching, critiquing, and applauding our every move. It's even easier to conform to the crowd's mold, constantly measuring our lives against a celebrity's Instagram post or a friend's life event. This give me more and I want that attitude can be detrimental to us both physically and mentally. In fact, recent studies have shown that FOMO is linked to feelings of dissatisfaction. The problem with FOMO is the individuals it impacts are looking outward instead of inward, which should remind you of something Heno said last week. Where is it? McLaughlin said, when you're so tuned into the other, or the better, in your mind, you lose your authentic sense of self. This constant fear of missing out means you're not participating as a real person in your own world. The average college student spends 8 to 10 hours killing time on their cell phone each day. And when we consistently believe we are missing out, anxiety and depression may set in. It's no surprise, then, that antidepressant use is very high and grows each year. FOMO certainly instills anxiety and depression, but we need to push back against framing this fear of missing out as a mental health condition, McLaughlin said. FOMO is an emotion driven by thoughts that can create the fear of and anxiety, which leads to a mental health diagnosis. It's a symptom of a larger problem at hand. According to McLaughlin, at least 3 to 13% of the population are diagnosed with a condition called social anxiety. Part of social anxiety is the fear of being judged by others or embarrassing oneself in social interactions. FOMO is very damaging to someone suffering from this anxiety disorder because it fuels a lack of self-confidence and social avoidance. While we may not all experience severe social anxiety, sadly, many of us have pretty bad cases of FOMO, even if we're unwilling to admit it. And this incessant worrying about what everyone else is doing only causes us to miss out on our own lives even more. So how do we fix FOMO? Maybe with a large dose of YOLO. Ugh. The mental exercise of reframing is extremely helpful to combat FOMO, and there are many common negative thought patterns you may not notice. Building your arsenal against these patterns is key. The next time you feel stressed out about that friend who's traveling the world while you're stuck at a desk, try these techniques. Track your negative thoughts. Keeping a thought journal will allow you to observe just how often negativity rears its ugly head. Anytime you have a negative thought, huh?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought you said something. Sorry. Anytime you have a negative thought, write it down and analyze why or how this thought may be limiting you. Which I would like, that's a, good point. Again, that's something that, like the, using the distorted thinking worksheets. That's the key right there, because that's the whole point of them, is, track them, write down why they're, distorted, and try to fix them. Or, not fix them, but replace them, sorry. Replace negative thoughts with more reasonable ones. Use milder wording during your thought process. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? And challenge your assumptions to determine what the frame behind your thought is. it's possible you have a limiting belief that could be holding you back. Use your thoughts and feelings to propel and harness the intrinsic motivation to achieve your own goals, McLaughlin said. It's also beneficial to realize you can't judge a book by its cover. The outward image people project on social media isn't necessarily truthful. You're never getting the entire story, which we pointed that out last week, that many times that, people's posts on social media are not truthful. If the stress and anxiety behind FOMO begin to take a significant toll on your life and health, it's always best to contact your healthcare provider. It's important to get ahead of negative thought patterns before they begin to cause havoc. So yeah, there you go. Which, this is something that I don't think most people realize that they deal with.
Yeah, that's the part the thing that just jumps out at me on this, having had periods where, obviously when we're kids, when we're a lot younger, this happens way more often. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be, a teenager now with social media.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So happy I didn't have it. I already had enough FOMO to go around.
Right?
But thinking about the times where I've really experienced this at a real deep level, like that visceral level where I can bring it back to my head, like right now.
Yeah.
Reading this is like, yeah, okay, easier said than done.
Yeah.
Like you just said, I think most people don't even realize that A, that you're in this, and B, that there's a reason to leave or get out, or you know what I mean? I'm like, to me, it's like, I just sit there and I go, wow, you just made it sound so easy.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, this is a situation that is going to get worse and worse and worse, because every new app that comes along makes our lives more and more and more accessible. And the more apps that people are on, the more accessible their lives are, because, if you're on Facebook, most people have like a certain limit to what they post, but now, okay, you're on Twitter also. Oh, well, now you're on Pinterest or Snapchat or Instagram. And, each one of those people generally use a little differently than the other. So you're giving a little different piece of you in each one. And, so now people are getting all these little pieces of you, and or you're giving of yourself or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think what I was going to say. I forgot. But
that this is just going to get worse.
Yeah, it's
you're going at.
Yeah, we're you're just going to feel like you're missing out on more and more and more, because you have to track. You're going to feel like you need to track all of these apps.
Well, and you're also like the thing that thinking about times where I was in this place, the last thing I needed to be doing is watching what other people do.
Yeah. And
what they're doing with their lives when I'm feeling like mine sucks.
Right.
And I'm not happy and I am not comfortable in my skin. And the last place I want to be is alone in my own head.
Oh, for sure.
Or, where I just feel lonely. And to have all of these different sources, like we talk a lot about. Yes, one of the things I love about listening to podcasts is getting a little, insight into other people's lives. It appeals to the voyeur in all of us.
Sure.
But when you're in that when you're in a real negative place about your own life, your own self-esteem, your own well-being, and you've got all of these different sources of other people's, to use the political buzzword of the day, optics. The view of their life, which all it is a view.
Yeah.
Like it's meaningless. But when you're in that space, you've got all of these things to look at and go, my life sucks.
Oh, absolutely.
Look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
Look at the fun they're having. Why can't I do that?
Yeah.
And it's just,
I will 100% speak on it. And like I said, the reason I wanted to bring this up is I am so guilty of doing this. I know I do it all the time. I see people all the time that, and I see them posting pictures on Instagram or whatever of them going to places or doing cool things, and I'm jealous. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I'm essentially jealous of what they're doing, and and I've if I say that to someone, like, oh, well, why don't you just do it? And it's like, yeah, I can't. That's where my problem falls, is I can't, because like I said, I wake up some days and I can't pull myself out of bed. So now the problem is that this jealousy feeds, you know what I mean? Like, it feeds into my depression, and it's a self-fulfilling, it's a snake eating its own, tail, basically, and, you just see, I mean, here's another, I mean, this is, I can go into various examples here. Another one, it's not even just a fear of missing out sometimes, but just that comparison of yourself to others in this same sense, though. Like, a great example, I'll look on, say, Tinder, right? And you see people on Tinder, and I've talked with other people about this. Like, you see these people on Tinder, and you're like, man, look at it. Like, you're flipping through this, and you're like, geez, look at these pictures of all these places they've been. I don't live like this. So you swipe left, right? You might have just swiped left on somebody that you might be an amazing match on, because essentially you're like, wow, there's them in Machu Picchu, and here's them on, hiking on top, or here's them on top of a cliff or a mountain or what. I can't even get out of bed. There's no way they're going to want me, kind of a thing. So these comparisons and who knows, maybe they did that one time. And it was just, you know what I mean? It was like, wow, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I did this. And maybe the rest of their life, they never do it, but it's a cool picture, So, but I spend a lot of time on my phone. I look at groups a lot of time, these groups that I'm part of. And a lot of it's that I don't live outside of my house. My world has shrunk because of my depression to where it literally is a lot of times on my phone, through my podcasts, through living in my room, and it's horrible. And this isn't, I'm not talking out of school here. This isn't a big secret. I'm not revealing anything here. Anyone who knows me, well, maybe if you don't know me, but anyone who knows me a little bit knows I'm not happy about it. It's why I started going to therapy in the first place. Is I don't want to be this way. I don't want to live the rest of my life as this person who essentially only lives in a room. This isn't good. So this is part of why I wanted to bring this up, because I know other people are like me, and I know there's other people who are still in a better spot than me that are probably heading this way, and I don't want to welcome them into this room. I want them to stay outside. So, can you think of any, like, that you go through? Like, do you do that still? Like, do you look at stuff like on your phone and go through this ever? Or
I don't anymore, but what's kind of weird is this week I saw an image of somebody that I used to spend time with, doing their life, the things that they do. And it was weird. It was the last time that I really, well, I wouldn't say the last time. It was one time where I had a really bad case of, really wanting to be doing something else, and being jealous of other people. And it was funny how it brought it back to me. This time I looked at this image of people having, some recreation out on a lake, and I was like, oh, cool. But it also reminded me, like, wow, remember what that did to you 8 years ago?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it was a reminder of where I was at that time.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, it's one of the reasons I don't go to a lot of concerts.
Yeah, sure.
I don't care. I look at the pictures of everybody dancing and the videos that everyone posts on Facebook, and I'm like, awesome. I got other stuff I'd rather be doing right now.
Yeah.
I am so comfortable in my home. I'm so comfortable in my space. I love spending time with my dogs. I love doing the things that I do, spending an evening doing this, playing guitar, whatever it is. I really feel my life is complete today.
Yeah.
Like I have everything that I want. There's nothing, I mean, yeah, there's other things I'd like to do, but they're not circumventing me being in my moment anymore. And the reason that that's significant to me today in a major way, and that's why, like, one of my coworkers, we talk about it a lot, where he says, I just go home. I'm like, hey, so do I.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got my times where I go and do things, but for the most part, I'm really comfortable here. The reason it has an impact to me is because I can bring up those times. It's part of me. It's who I am. Mm-hmm. I grew up like that. I had a lot of insecurities and low self-esteem, and I was always jealous of what everyone else was doing. And I, like that whole idea, like what I said last week, it's like I compared my insides with other people's outsides all the time.
Yep.
And what's wild is when I finally, the weird thing about it is that I had all of these, there's all these assumptions that come with it.
Yeah.
And especially like what's wild is when I was getting to know new people here after I moved here. And I was fortunate that I got in with some groups that allowed me to get to know people. And I had no idea how many people just did the same thing that I did every night.
Yeah, right?
They just went home.
Yeah.
And had a quiet evening at their house, took their dog for a walk, blah, blah, blah. And I was looking at them thinking like they had some life that I didn't have.
Yeah, right.
I really did, you know, and it's kind of wild. I was excited about this topic just because, I just love to share that you don't have to be in that place.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying that you can get past this. And once again, it comes down to the fact that it's an inside job.
Oh, yeah.
It's an inside job. And if you find yourself, because like I already said, I think about what it would be like to be a teenager today or a young adult or whatever it is, or being in a place where, maybe you're just a little different than other people around you.
Yeah.
And you try to fit in and you can't, and you see what everyone else is doing and you just don't have that thing. Like I have a friend of mine who, boy, she is unique. She is her own person, has always been, and she's off on a solo backpacking trip right now across the country. I admire her so much because I would have never have done that.
Oh yeah, I never would either.
She was like, she doesn't care. Like she's always had this level of I'm me that I never knew. I wanted to fit in with everybody else so much. This is one of the reasons I drank a lot. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's
Me
the
too.
magical elixir.
Oh, for sure. I'll be honest. That's the serious reason why I started drinking is I wanted to fit in. The group of people I was with, that's what they did for fun. They hung out and they drank. So I was like, well, I guess I drink because that's what everyone else is doing. And it wasn't a peer pressure. They weren't like, come on, you got it. It was nothing like that. They were just like, hey, if you want something to drink, there's beers, And I was like, hey, I'll have a beer. And then I started drinking, and that's all it was. It wasn't, no one forced me to. It wasn't any peer pressure stuff. I was just like, I'm going to have a beer. And then I started drinking, and, it was just, but I was so desperate to try to fit in because I've never felt like I fit in. And I mean, I've had groups of friends, and I generally fit in with about 4 to 6 people at a time. And because of my part of it, and again, I'm prefacing that because first of all, I know some of them listen. Second of all, I want to make sure that everyone knows that this isn't because of the people. My friends are generally wonderful people. It's me and my detachment issues that I've had forever. I generally tend to detach from people. And when I do, I just don't want to be around people anymore. And it's weird because I do though. Like I am so split that I am a person who loves being around people. Like Tony and I used to go to the mall and sit and just people watch. And from talking to me how much I love behavior. Like people, the behavior of people. I'm fascinated by it. I love watching people and how they react and behave and all this stuff. And I am always down for people watching at a bar, a mall. It doesn't like this. I just am fascinated by how people behave sometimes. And but at the same time, I'm to the point now that crowds and all this other stuff, I'm like, nope, kind of a thing. So as a result, I can't I have a hard time resolving all of that now. So it's weird because on one hand, I am a person that if I could get rid of part of this stuff with me, I could go back to it, because I never used to be shy as far as like I would go and talk to anybody essentially. I mean, I'm shy, but I warm up quickly usually. If you put me in a room, I'm shy at first, but usually by the end of the night I'm talking to anybody, And now I usually, like, if you put me in that same room, I may not be talking to anybody by the end of the night. I might be more like, can we go? I'm done, like I just don't want to. So it's weird that for most of my life, I've still been looking for that. I want to fit. I want to belong, and I just never feel like I belong, aside from, like I said, from my very small group of friends, and that's fine, because I know a lot of people don't have like 40 real tight friends. I understand those groups generally are pretty small, but it's weird. I don't know. It's like I've always looked for something where I kind of click, and I think it's part of what's really messed with my head is I never quite feel right. I always just feel like that puzzle piece that doesn't belong in any of the puzzles,
What's cool though is there's to bring this back to something that happened recently when we all met up in Portland for Rose City Comic Con.
Yeah.
Neil and I felt like that.
Yeah.
Like we felt like just so out of place.
Right.
When you look at us, I mean, we can work in a crowd.
Yeah.
We have no problems. We don't. But who we are on the inside, who we were when we were kids, who we were when we grew up, there's still part of us. There's part of that person still in us. And regardless of what skills we've acquired, social skills over the years, there's a point where we feel like how you just described it.
Yeah.
Like but I think what's happened, at least for us in the last, and I'm going to say, let's say the last 10 years, the process, and I know, I'm not speaking out of school when I say that, we both had therapy, we both had counseling, and we had to face certain aspects of our life and look at it. And, it's kind of turned around to where, like, we've always embraced our freak side.
Yeah.
Well, that's easy. When you're playing Rockstar, or you're playing whatever, when you're playing, badass, whatever you're doing right now, it's easy to embrace that. But it's something else to embrace where you're just like, I'm just different now.
Yeah.
I don't need to fit in.
Yeah, I think there was that though too, is like I didn't have as much of an issue with this when I was not running, but when I was in like art classes, because again, groups of creatives generally tend to go, hey, we're all weird here,
Yep.
And it was kind of, I think that has something to do with it because, in high school, I spent a lot of time in the art classes. And then in college, obviously, I was in art classes all the time and talked with that. And that's who I was hanging with for the most part. So during those times, I think it was because I fit, because the people I was spending the most time with were all doing the same thing.
Yeah. And you're all kind of misfits to begin with.
Yeah, basically.
In a way.
We were. Yeah, definitely. So and maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that and that's the part of the thing though too, is it's like, even now as I've been so removed from that community that I don't feel like I fit. You know what I mean? Like I don't, and the weird part is the art community generally is probably the type that I could walk right back into it because again, people are generally pretty welcoming, but in my head, distorted thinking, it's going to be that, and again, self-esteem issues and all this stuff. I'm not going to feel like I could just walk back into it, So it's a really interesting, that's a really good point though, and maybe that's it. I've wondered for a long time, and I've felt for a long time that, art was kind of my way back in to feeling more, to being me again. I've felt for a long time that art was a lot of my missing piece, because it was so much of who I was for so long. Because, again, in high school, I was laser focused. Most kids are, I'm going to take college prep courses and all this. And I was like, I'm taking nothing but art courses because I'm going to art school. So I loaded up on art classes. I took almost everything. And, and then again in college, I was going for graphic design, and, I've always been identified as somebody who was taking art stuff and doing art things. And then all of a sudden I wasn't. And my transition was, I'm working at a video store. That's it. You know what I mean? It's just no more art. And I'm been thinking about this more recently. Like, I'm wondering if it was just, there's no adjustment really there. And it's my own fault. I just stopped. So, I don't know.
I think that's a real common story. I think that happens to a lot of people.
It is. A bunch of people that were in school with me did the same thing. Yeah. Because the area that I'm in is not a hotbed for graphic design. So you had to move to really find work, unless you want to make, honestly, minimum type wage doing that kind of work. It's not a great place for graphic design. So, a lot of the people got better job offers. They went to work doing other stuff, making more money. They had, graphic design degrees, but they're working, one worked for like a factory somewhere because it paid them like, $6 or $7 more an hour.
Yeah.
And it's like
the benefits and all the security that goes with it.
Yeah. And it's like, well, you got to take the best job offer.
Yeah. And that's, I think the hardest part, and the part that, that I love to see the most when people have been, this is why I kind of laughed at that whole article to begin with, because to me, it's not one of those things you just read it and apply it. It's like, it's a living thing. It's you have to have once again, you have to hit a bottom to want to get out of this.
Yep.
Unfortunately, for a lot of people, if you are feeling like you don't fit in, and like one of the things that I'll tell you where I became an alcoholic was sitting at home drinking and being online.
Yeah, right.
In groups.
Yeah.
Because it allowed me to be completely in the moment. Mm-hmm. Because you're just that's what alcohol did for me.
Yeah, me
it
too.
It allowed me to focus and be very social and hang out with everybody. And I didn't care what time it was. I didn't care if it was all night long.
Yep. You've heard me say a couple of times, I wish I could be the person I am 2 drinks in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
That when you're in that zone.
Yep.
But, a lot of people, though, if they're doing that, or even if they're not, unfortunately, it can lead you into dark places.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the self-worth, like you said, you wouldn't even know that you're doing it. You're just looking at the fact that your life freaking sucks and everyone else's looks better.
Yeah.
And the reason that this really hits home for me is it's pretty typical of anybody in recovery. Because most of us who end up, we party ourselves into recovery. A lot of people end up, by themselves, whether it's drinking or doing drugs or that kind of stuff. However, we all have our good old days.
Yeah.
We all remember those great parties we had, those social gatherings we can't actually remember.
Right.
But for some reason revere, right?
Sure. Yep.
And all your friends that you hung out with and everyone you did. And now you are trying to live something differently, and you're going, well, I'm never going to have these friends anymore. I'm never going to have this. And you're all of a sudden, all your tools for blotting the world out are gone. And you have to face the fact that, well, guess what? It's you, your head, your emotions, your well-being. And what's the first thing we do? We look at outside of ourselves for relief from that.
Yeah.
If I was looking for drugs and alcohol for relief, why wouldn't I look for social things for relief as well? Oh, well, if I was at the party right now, I would feel better.
Yeah.
If I was part of the, my crew or whatever you want to put it. And so a lot of people go through that in early recovery, and it's a very difficult thing because that's what causes people to go out and drink again. That's what causes people to, if they have issues like their cutters or whatever it is, any sort of mental tools that we have created to cope with our insecurities. Yep. It's so easy to fall back in on them.
It definitely is. I openly admitted to my therapist, and I know I've told you before, and I've told various people that I was using alcohol to help with my stuff, not to excess and not to large amounts, but just enough, like you had said before, like with the groups thing, just enough to shut it off, because those thoughts are in my head so much that it's like, it's just, I need to shut it off sometimes. And sometimes it's like, look, I'll be totally honest. I still do it once in a while now. Not often, but once in a while, it's just too much. And honestly, I'll be perfectly blunt with you, is there's times where I'll look at it and I'll be like, I gotta shut this off, because if I don't, I'm gonna start thinking along the lines of, this needs to end one way or another. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather have a few beers than let my brain go a different route. So, and it's not healthy either way. I'm not in any way advocating it, but there's some nights where I'm like, I need to shut this off because I just need the peace, and like I said, it's not a good idea, but it's very rare. It's not like I do it all the time or anything, but it's still the idea that, and I used to do it a lot, because there were times where I'd be up a lot, late at night. Those voices just won't shut up. And I'd be sitting there going, man, I know if I go have a couple of Jack and Cokes, I'll be good the rest of the night. Like, that'll be enough to shut it up. And it's not getting drunk. It's just a few drinks just to take the edge off, if you will. It's like going out in public and, my anxiety's, give me a shot of whiskey. I'm straight now, and now I'm good. It's like, I try to do the work instead, because the work is the way I want to go, because I don't want to ever look at alcohol as a crutch. I don't want to look at it as a tool. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to drink, it's one thing, but I don't want to drink because I see it as a tool, So.
And there's nothing wrong. It's part of the process. Mm-hmm. For most people, you go out, you be social, you have food, you have your beverages, you do what it takes to fit in, and it's, once again, it's practice. And we've talked a lot about where this goes. It'd be, where it can lead to, though, is it will get better.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people. It's not going to happen overnight, though. It's going to take work. It's going to, I think for myself, it took me, I know I was lucky that within my first year of, basically being a raw nerve, I got fortunate in that I got to be around some really cool social situations. I was kind of invited to be part of a group that got together every weekend, and boy, was that something great for a guy that was feeling lonely.
Yeah.
But even that didn't take it away. And this is where I'm kind of going with this, is the thing that that when we have the fear of missing out, the thing that we want isn't the solution.
Yeah, that's true.
Because within that my first year where I was lonely, I had all of these opportunities to go out and be social. I was all of a sudden at the events. I was at the parties. I was at the, whatever it is. And yet I still kept looking at other people and what they were doing. I still kept feeling like, if I don't stay connected, if I'm not part of the email loop, if I'm not part of the discussion of what's going on this weekend, I still miss it. Even though I was at the events, and it probably took a couple years before I finally found myself again, to the point where I realized that the solution wasn't what I wanted. The solution was something entirely different, which is me just being happy with being me.
Yeah.
And how I developed that, though, actually, you have to get through the experiences with your wins, pull those things in. That's, for me, what it was like. And a lot of it was also like what you're talking about, is more than likely one of your passions is going to be how you finally get to the other side of it. Yeah. At least that's how it was for me.
Well, yeah. And like I've said before on here, one of the hard parts for me is basically, the longer you deal with depression, the more of your torches that are extinguished, So you basically have to learn to relight them, and then you basically have to learn to re-feel things. It's really awkward and hard, and it's so difficult that it's something I can't explain to people. It is the weirdest thing to try to get enthusiastic about something you used to be really enthusiastic about, but you've lost that enthusiasm.
Oh, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I think that feeds into the FOMO so much, because the thing that should bring you relief doesn't.
Yeah.
Because it looks so insurmountable.
Yes.
You look at who you were and like the talent you had, the abilities you had, and you sit there and you go, nah, I don't even want to go there.
Yeah.
Like it's the thing that you lived for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, so why wouldn't you look for the easier thing, which is, hey, here's a social thing.
Right. Well, and
here's a blah, blah, blah group.
And
I can get into that easy.
The way I used to filter, all the stuff out of my head was through my art. Like, I used to come home from school or while I was at school, because I was constantly, even while we were taking notes in school, I was drawing in the margins, and stuff. But I used to come home from school, I'd go in my room and I'd turn on my music and I would get my sketchbook out and I would just start drawing. And it was all stream of conscious stuff, or almost always just whatever was in my head, dark stuff, goofy stuff, didn't matter. Just get it out of my head, And now, and this was something I was thinking about the other day, is I'm thinking, I'm wondering if when I started using social media, my drawing, similar timing, the more I started using social media, the less I started drawing. I think I replaced one essentially with the other, because the reason I started using Twitter was to get dark thoughts out of my head. That was a big part of why I started using it, because I could just, if something popped in my head, I could just throw it on Twitter and boom, it's gone. And I used to write that stuff. Like if you looked at some of my old sketchbooks, which I've since gotten rid of because, just bad juju, and it was basically, I would write really dark stuff and then I would draw around them. It had sometimes generally didn't have anything to do with it. I would just write what was in my head and then just draw around it basically. And just as thoughts came out, write it down, draw, write, just, again, it was all stream of conscious basically. And then, like I said, I got to a point to where I looked at that and I was like, man, I was in a bad place. And I was like, I don't want these in my life anymore, and got rid of all of them. And like I said, I kind of now, if I just have those thoughts, I generally jump on social media and I'll just start brain dumping on Twitter, which if anyone follows me, you'll see, because you can generally tell where I'm at.
Now that you're bringing this up, this is kind of interesting. So the last few weeks I actually, like all of last week, I never went on Twitter once.
Yeah.
What did I do last week? I actually got together with friends, played guitar.
Go figure, right? You stayed off social media and you actually lived your life.
No, it's really starting to become apparent to me. That's what, because there's been a lot of people in, various kick groups and blah, 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 and making comments about me not being around as much.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I'm actually doing other things right now.
Right.
And wow. Because
Meanwhile, I'm doing nothing in real life, and I'm very active in
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, you really nailed it from that idea of it's quick and it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another version of an escape.
Yeah.
It's escaping.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But for me, the solution is finding who I am. And I know this is with men and women equal. They both feel this way, but men tend to do this more often. We identify ourselves by what we do.
Yes.
Which is why when you're 40 something years old and you're not in a career, sometimes it's difficult for people.
Or when you're going to turn 38 in a month. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, but, and what's even crazier for me, what's wild for me, I'll use crazy. But I'm going to say it's baffling to me because I'm on the outside looking in. I see them as like, oh, a wonderful parent. And I go, wow, and you're having a midlife crisis. You've done something that I couldn't even think. I mean, I won't even do that. I will never do that. Yeah. Yet you feel like you don't know who you are. I'm like, and I go, but I'm not, I have to relate to that because I've been there myself.
Yeah.
Where I have all of these indicators around me telling me this is who I am. And yet I can't see any of them.
I'm 100% that way. Jen has pointed out to me countless times about that, and I'm like, I'm going to be in. I'm updating the age because again, I'll be 38 in like a month here, and I'm like, I'll be 38 in a month. I don't have a career. I don't have my own place. I don't, I go through this list, and again, generally the list is I don't have, blah blah, right? I'm using the meh cadence because that generally is the negative cadence, and the way she reframes it is, you've done this, you blah this, and she would do the opposite. And she's like, and she'd point out, like, people want to talk to you. People like meeting you. People that, she's like, you just don't see your self-worth, but everyone around you sees it, kind of a thing. And, and we've talked a little on the show about how when I see that in people, like in Chicago, meeting you and Clint and Teddy and, and stuff, it's, when you see that in others, when they kind of throw it at you a little bit and you're like, wow, because these people value you, and it's like, clearly it smacks you in the head a little bit with the fog around you, like, hey, maybe there's something to this, like when you see those things and it's like, you start realizing that you're just, I don't even know, but I'm framing this wrong. So it's like, when I start seeing that, and then I start looking at this stuff with like missing out on stuff, and it's like, well, like you said before, it's like, well, maybe I'm not really missing out on this stuff like you said, it's like, maybe it's not the stuff that I'm missing out on. Maybe it's me that I'm missing out on, and that's what I'm trying to fix. Because if I get me right, this all will happen.
That all works itself out.
Yeah,
in a way.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what it will do. And I've seen this time and time and time again to the point where I almost want to guarantee it, but you can't guarantee
oh
it.
No, it's trusty old Heno guarantee.
Yeah. But I've seen this so many times is because I did it myself. What I wanted for myself, I sold myself short.
Yes.
If you were to sit there and say, okay, you've got a chance at a new life. What do you want it to look like? And I made a list of everything that I wanted. I so sold myself short because like you said, once I got the inside worked out, the rest of it worked out even better than I would have ever imagined because my ideas of what I might achieve were so limited. Yeah. And that's where I like these ideas of, where I like using the word faith. And that's where, that's why I learned about higher powers or, power of the universe or whatever you want to call it. It's the idea that our possibilities are endless. Yeah. That I have a mentor coach of mine who is taking one of these. It's a really old self-help kind of program that goes way, way, way back. The guy that started this goes into businesses and like, fires up an entire, corporate sales staff and gets them, making bucks. He's just a motivational dude.
Yeah.
But one of the things he talks about, and I love this, and I've talked to Angela about this too, is if the universe is basically endless, it's infinite, as far as we know, it goes on and on and on and on. And we have all these in our our brains and our math and all this stuff. We talk about infinities and everything's infinite. Well, why aren't we?
Nah. Yeah. Why not?
If everything in our universe is infinite, then why can't we be infinite? So there's no reason to sell yourself short.
Yeah.
Is do the work, have faith, know that every day is another step in the right direction. Sure, you'll have, like you were talking about, hey, you'll slip back a little bit, but it's just part of the path, and that eventually you'll open your eyes and you'll go, whoa, this is better than I ever expected. Life is awesome. Wow, I'm happy. And you'll look back and you won't even bother with the amount of years that it took, because when you're happy, you're happy.
Yeah. And you're right.
And that's why
having
some faith, that's why it's good to be around other people. That's why we talk,
Yes.
It's like,
it absolutely is. Yes, it is. And that's part of why from almost the first time I actually talked to you, not like just in, texts or whatever, but from the first time like that I think it was, I don't even remember if it was salty language or whatever it was the first time I talked to you. I think it was, or it was on here. I don't remember, but I was just like, this is someone I need to talk to more, because I need people like this. Like I've always told, like, it's why, I like having people in my life that are positive, because I tend to draw from the people around me, like most people do. But I also, at times need that person who's also just that foot in the behind that you need sometimes too. Like sometimes, everybody needs a good push, and that's why, there's been times in various points over the years that Tony's been that push for me, to where something will happen and he'll be like, you should do this, and be like, fine, and,
exactly.
And most of the time it's kidding stuff, but there are times when he's done it and it'll be like, I know he's right, and I'll be like, all right, fine. And I'll, and those are big helps, because, and I know it's only because of my self-esteem, and that's all it comes down to. And it's one of those, if I could raise my self-esteem, whatever, a small percent, like I said, I'd be dangerous. If I could raise it, a good percentage, I'd be lethal. So, because again, like I said, once I'm in and talking with people, I'm good. It's just that I'm horrible at the first parts of it. It's my, it's that self-doubt and the,
I was just going to say that you probably have all the self-esteem you need, you just don't believe it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I've been that way for years and years and years. It's not like I just developed it. I mean, it's been, I can't even think of a time I wasn't this way. So,
because we don't see it. We're blind. It's with everything that we talk about on this podcast. We cannot see the truth from the false when we are in it.
Oh no,
we cannot even see the times where we inspire others.
Yeah.
Like you were already talking about, people want to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's like the reason I like to talk to you is because you're my kick in the butt. You're my reminder to do the work.
Yeah.
It only that's why we talk about in recovery programs is like, you don't get the A and graduate and go away.
Yeah.
No, you always stick around because there is no finish line.
Right. It'd be great if you did. Like, hey, I completed the program. Woo, I'm done.
And you know what? Everybody wants that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear, like, well, how long do we have to meet? Well, for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Well, when you realize that it's actually a positive, you won't
Yeah.
balk at that anymore.
I've had people ask me, about therapy, and so, well, how long are you going to stay in therapy? I'm like, well, I asked my therapist on the first day, how long do people usually stay? And her answer, and I'm sure this is typical answer, is until you feel, meaning me, the patient, feels you don't need it anymore, And sometimes therapists will say, I don't feel you need it anymore, if they feel the patient has basically run their course as well, but typically that's the point of therapy, is when you don't feel you need it anymore, so it's like, there you go. It could be for the rest of your life. It could be for 3 weeks. Just whenever you feel you don't need it anymore. So it's whatever, but you're right with recovery. It's, you're never not going to be recovering, or however you want to word it, not recovering, but you know what I mean? It's always going to be there, similar to depression, unless something medically or there's some breakthrough, it's always there. It's never going to just go away. There's no, like you said, there's no graduation. Yeah. There's, I don't get to take a pill and ta-da, it's gone. It helps. There's tools, but there's no, nothing that banishes it from my body, which would be awesome.
And I just had something pop in my head just as a kind of a funny little. We've all heard that. Have you heard that like the kind of the joke where it's like you got the sober guy and the drunk guy side by side, and they're comparing, and the one guy that's got the hangover, whatever, he's at least I'll feel better tomorrow. You're always going to be an ass.
Yeah. Right.
The sober guy's being self-righteous jerk. Well, well, tomorrow morning I know I'll feel better, but you'll still be a jerk.
Yep.
But the same idea is if you're in a place right now where you've got some serious FOMO happening and you're looking at everybody else, just remember that you're at a place where you can grow and you can get better.
Yeah.
A lot of those people that you're looking at, they're still going to be a jerk tomorrow and the next day and for years to come.
Yep.
Because you don't know who they are.
That's true. It's totally true. Especially if it's a celebrity. Again, if it's a celebrity, as we mentioned last week, generally a lot of those accounts, they're not the one posting. Their publicist or a social media content manager is posting that, like if it's their Twitter or whatever, it's probably not them. It's probably someone else,
and they have no need to grow, which is fine.
Yeah.
Nobody has to. Mm-hmm. But I like to look at it as I was given an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
I was given an opportunity to do things differently. And I am so grateful that I took it.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that I could be of use to somebody else who may have been in the same place. I'll take that any day. I would, we've had some newcomers walk into some of my groups, and man, this one guy last week, from everything I'd heard from my friends, he was a hot mess 3 weeks ago. I mean, it was bad. Like, they were like, this guy's going to either end up in a hospital or jail. And he walked in to hang out in our men's meeting and talk about recovery. And I mean, I was just like, there could have been a concert going down the street, and I would have wanted to listen to that guy share 5 minutes over any place to be that night last week.
Yeah, right, exactly.
No question. I'll take that any day, because that's inspiration to me.
Yeah.
Is to see somebody that is in a desperate place finally find some light.
Yeah. I'd rather, not to mention, I'd rather be part of helping that person than a concert. I can go to a concert any night of the week, whatever. I'll say this, we should probably wrap up because we're about an hour and a half here. But if, as Heno said, if you're listening and in the stuff with the FOMO stuff really kind of registers to you, and you realize, like me, like I said, part of the reason I'm bringing it up, and many times when we bring stuff up on this show, it's because it's something we're walking through right then. There's never been a holier than thou kind of thing on this show. We're not preaching down. We're not talking down to people here. It's, if you're walking through this stuff, as Heno mentioned about being presented with an opportunity, look, if you heard us describe this, a fear of missing out, if you're looking at social media and going, well, man, I wish my life was that good or blah, 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 that's a red flag, however you want to, that is a thing going, hey, here is an opportunity. Go, sit down and go, what is it that I'm seeing there that I'm not getting out of my own life?
Yeah. What else could I be doing right now rather than this?
Yeah.
If I turn this off, what else could I do?
Yeah. What am I missing out on? Like,
yeah.
what am I missing? Much like the article said, a lot of times, as much as I hate the dang term, YOLO is really the cure for FOMO. I mean, it is, I mean, if you go do stuff like you, Heno, you said it last week. You weren't really on Twitter.
Seriously, I didn't even realize it.
You weren't on Twitter.
What did I do last week?
What were you doing?
Music.
You went out and lived. Yep.
Yeah,
so,
I went to the gym. I lived my life last week, and what was the worst thing that happened? Oh, we've missed you on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay. And oh,
yeah.
All right. And the other thing is, I mean, really, you can jump on Twitter after you've done the other stuff.
Oh, I can, yeah.
Or if you're at the gym when you're on, if you're on a bike or a treadmill or something, you could fire up Twitter while you're doing that too. I mean,
and that's the way it's been this week. Back to balance.
Yep.
But sometimes you need a little kick in the butt, a little perspective, and I think that's a great place to go to, is where you were heading with that, is like, if you are spending all night long sitting there glued to your phone looking at Facebook, try it for a day.
Yeah.
Shoot, start with an hour, put it down for an hour, pick up a book.
Yeah. What is something that you used to do that you don't do anymore?
Yeah.
What is it
do it for an hour?
Or like I said, what is something that you're looking at, longing for in those things that they're doing that you're not doing?
Yeah.
Is it, oh wow, that bar looks really cool. Go to the bar.
Yeah.
Go to that bar or go to that club.
Why not?
Whatever.
Yeah. Maybe there's a restaurant down the street that's got some live music going. Go down there and sit.
There you go.
Have a cocktail. Have a glass of water, have whatever it is, just hang out for a little bit and then go home. Yeah. And this is one of those things where no matter what, you can have your misery back.
Yep. Yeah.
Because the social media is still going to be there for you. That's always the part I love.
That's such a good line. I hate those damn lines that you're always bringing up, but that is certainly one of them on the Hall of Fame, or, hanging from the rafters. Of the ones you've said that it just will always register for me, that's one that easily is hoisted to the rafters. You have
the phrases you love to hate.
Yeah.
It's like, if it doesn't work out for you doing it different, well, you can always go back.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, and again, you can go sit at, like, if that bar's got live music, you can go sit and, pull up Facebook on your phone.
You can do it there.
You'll fit right in. Other people will be doing it too. You can fit right in. But
you won't have the fear of missing out any longer because you'll be with all of them.
There you go. You're doing both. But in seriousness, seriously though, that's the kind of thing. Like I said, just pay attention to what you think you're missing on those others and look at it. Can you pull that into your life? If you can't, what can you do to give? Like, are you seeing people climbing mountains and going, man, I wish I could do that? Well, are there hiking paths near you? Is there a rock climbing mountain? You know how they have those indoor things where you can climb, like, simulated mountain? Find something like that. Try to find something that puts that kind of experience or adrenaline or whatever it is that you feel you're missing out on. Or is it that you're missing out on a connection with people? Maybe that's just it. Like me, honestly, it's more about, like, one of the things I miss out on when I'm looking at a lot of these is I see people as couples doing things. I miss being with someone, like, being alone sucks. I see all these people that are like, single, woo, and it's like, yeah, you're a liar. Anyone who says that is a filthy, filthy liar. I'm not saying you have to be married and all that stuff, but doing things with people is always more fun. Isolation sucks.
And here's another thing that I learned this one. I was kind of forced into this, and I appreciate that they did this for me. Go out and try to make just friendly relationships.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea.
Because I was told to try not to get into a relationship for a year after I got sober, and kind of word got out, and all the women in the group were purposely not getting involved with me, although I didn't know that at the time. thought I was
man.
just striking out left and right. But guess what I did? I finally made friendships with the opposite sex.
Right.
It was good for me.
Yeah.
It was
right.
good for me to just say, hey, would you like to go out and go see a movie together?
Right.
It was the best when they told me that. Yeah, we kind of put the word out. I'm like, oh.
It's like, you guys could have told me.
Told me.
I mean,
It was literally like, I'm off limits.
you could have
for my
saved
own
me
good.
some embarrassment at least, or some trouble. At least I wouldn't have, Anyway. But
That's
yeah.
what friends are for.
That's right.
But-
That's right. So yeah, anyway, so there you go. See it as an opportunity. We've talked about that countless times on here. You can either keep looking, again, if you recognize it, see it as an opportunity for change. That's how you find these wins, and that's how you start, a revolution in your own life.
Wow.
So there it is.
There's a show title.
Sure,
Start a
yeah.
revolution.
Right? Yeah. So there you go. And I guess that's where we'll end things for this week. If you want to continue the conversation with either of us, or if you want to, send Jen something asking her about napkins, you can contact the website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. You can email us at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. Jen can be found on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. Again, that's Jen with a G. Henno, how can they find you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at Haida Henno. You can message me there, or you can find me on Facebook, Henno Heitur, Heitur. Send me a message there. If you're sitting at home having a FOMO and you want to talk to somebody really boring,
Yes.
as you can tell, I can be a little chatty.
Yeah, Henno will talk about napkins.
Yes, I will. I'll fake it.
He'll look up napkins while you're talking to him, so he can have something to talk about.
Yeah, and then I'll make you think like I know everything.
Right. That's what I do too.
Or I'll come up with something that's complete BS, but you'll think that's true because it sounds so authentic.
I know, right? I think that's why you and I get along so well. We both, it's like, man, Henno knows all this stuff. And Henno's like, Brian knows all this stuff. Neither of us know anything. We just look it all up while we're
make
talking.
It sound good.
It's terrible. You can also follow us on Twitter to see when the new shows go up at The Crazy Life Pod. Please go join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. You can follow me on Twitter at StuNami and see all my depressing tweets. No, I'm kidding. I don't tweet that much. That's depressing. You can also follow the other show that I'm on, which is Salty Language, at salty_language. That show is not safe for work, so warning. Or at saltylanguage.com. Let's see. I plan to put a new blog up this week. I started working on it last night. You can follow my blog at stunami.wordpress.com. Or, hit me up and I'll get you a link for that. Or when I'm done, I'll probably pin it on my Twitter timeline at the top. We're part of two networks, the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com, and the Wicked Radio Network, which can be found at wickedradionetwork.com. For now. And also, however it is that you find us, whether it's on iTunes, Stitcher, or however else that it is that you found us, please rate, review, subscribe, all that kind of thing. Share us so that it boosts us in their algorithms so other people can find us easier. And then we can, hopefully reach other people and they can enjoy our show as well. And, I didn't say it at the beginning of the show, as Jen usually does, but thanks to everyone who's been listening, and thanks to all of our new listeners. We appreciate that everyone has, anyone who's jumped on board with us. Also, because I haven't mentioned this in a while, our intro song is by my lovely and talented co-host, Henno. So, the song's called Life Sucks. You should definitely go listen to it if you're one of those people who scrubs through intro songs. You should go listen to it because it's a good song.
And you can find other little blips and blurbs that I do on SoundCloud at Monkey Tongue Productions.
Yeah, you should go check those out. There's a lot of good stuff on there.
They're kind of fun.
Yep. And then now for all the big-winded stuff. We're not doctors, therapists, or trained professionals of any kind. the show should not be considered as a replacement for therapy or anything like that. And please, please, please don't self-diagnose. If you think you need some help, please go seek out a professional and get a good course of action for yourself there. And then, keep us posted how you're doing. Let us know. If you have any suggestions for topics for the show, I keep forgetting to mention this. If there's anything you'd like us to discuss, send us a message.
Yeah.
Anything like that. And then, of course, also, as I say every episode, if you are feeling suicidal or if you've planned suicide or anything like that, please don't act on it. Please contact your therapist or someone in your support group, or call 911 and tell them you're having a mental health emergency, or go over to our Facebook group, or contact me or Heno or Jen and say, and let us know. We can get you the links from the Facebook group. There's a bunch of places for help. But please try not to be alone and contact somebody and reach out. There is help for you if you want it. And please don't act on those feelings. Whew. All right. I think that is everything, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, Heno, you want to take us out of here?
Yeah. Keep breathing. And don't have temper tantrums.